Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing cannabis yet again in Thailand. We discussed in a prior video that there had been a number of vendors that had been arrested in Thailand, specifically here in Bangkok, because they had been operating a cannabis store, basically a dispensary, a vending outlet, without any type of a license. And as we discussed in that prior video, there were also folks that were using trucks, and as pointed out in that video, it's not really possible to sell cannabis via a truck, because in order to get a license, you need to have a fixed physical address. So again, we discussed that previously, but now there seems to be further developments. I thought of making this video after reading a recent article from the Bangkok Post. It's bangkokpost.com. Article is titled, "Weed Vendors Sentenced." This is a follow-up to another article that we read and discussed in a prior video, again, about folks got arrested. Quoting directly, I'm going to quote a very short excerpt in this video. I urge those who are watching this video, go read that article in detail. Lots of good information there. Quoting directly, 6 vendors in the Tong Lo area arrested for violating a cannabis and hemp control regulation were sentenced to 2 months in jail, suspended for 2 years, and fined 5,000 baht each. So again, that's a criminal conviction. Presumably all these folks involved were Thais. I don't know where this would have gone if this would have been a foreigner involved. I suspect probably would have had at least some different nuances associated with it. Most notably, there are immigration implications for convictions of a crime in Thailand. So the conviction itself would have been grounds in and of itself for deportation. So again, foreigners would interact with this very differently than would native Thais, local Thais, who are going to be dealing with this system. But long story short, and the thing to understand, and something that I don't think a fine point was put on when the discussion was being sort of bandied about whether or not cannabis should be recriminalized. I think the implication was, if it's not recriminalized, there's not going to be any sort of criminal consequences, repercussions, if you will, associated with operating outside of the rules pertaining to cannabis sales and growth here in Thailand. Well, this article, in my opinion, really puts that entire argument to bed, because quite frankly, this, if anything, shows that, in fact, obviously, Thai law enforcement is going to be able to discern differences in regulation. They are going to be able to see who's got their license, who's doing things legally, and who's not. And again, this is one of my primary reasons, one of the big reasons in my mind, we need to get away from the whole notion of recriminalization. The better way to deal with this is regulation. And yes, there could be criminal consequences for those who violate the regulations here in Thailand. So the thing to take away from this video is, long story short, yes, cannabis, it's been legalized here in Thailand. We're still kind of dealing with the nuts and bolts of how this is going to work. But for the economic reasons, I think not only is recriminalization unlikely, I think it's also not in any way a good idea. It'll end up costing resources to the state in order to deal with the illegalization, and it doesn't bring in any tax revenue like it currently does. Meanwhile, yes, there do need to be regulations, and there do need to be consequences for people who violate those regulations. And again, I think this article shows that can occur under a regulatory framework.